Be boundless.
Hi everyone, welcome to the very first dose in the Be Boundless series. Be Boundless is about maximizing every moment of your life. It's about living up to your full potential, irrespective of what situation you are in. It's about being the best version of yourself throughout your life. So in this series, you will have a smattering of neurology, a little bit of science, tons and tons of real life experience, and oodles of positive psychology. By the way, I'm RamG Valath. I'm the happiest and most positive individual I have ever met in my life. And with me, I have today my young friend Shantanu.
Hi,
Shantanu. You see what I did there, right? I said, you who, Shantanu? So you have to introduce yourself.
So I am actually in a phase of my life where I'm trying to learn a bunch of different things. For a long time, I was a drama teacher, communication skills teacher as well. And I'm in the process of just trying to learn as much as I can, which is what brings us here. And so I guess, what are we starting with?
Well, since I'm the happiest individual I have met in my life, I think we should talk about those aspects which build happiness and help people become the happiest individuals they have met in their lives. Right? So just to start off with, I just want to talk about happiness, right? All of our lives, whatever we do in life is ultimately to find happiness. Whether you are having a nice peg of whiskey, or whether you are going for a movie, or you're having a vacation, or spending time with your family, or desperately running after making more money, or wanting to become powerful, any of these things in life are ultimately because you feel those destinations will give you happiness. The idea of Be Boundless is to make sure that the journey itself is full of happiness. And the kind of things that we talk about will always not only make you successful, but also add to happiness. Right? So we'll talk about my favorite topic, my favorite quality which makes people hugely happy. Any guesses?
I guess it starts with a G.
You got your spelling right. We're talking about gratitude here. So gratitude, in my opinion, is the one quality which tremendously makes people happy. You know, in many of my talks, and I have addressed over 120,000 people in the last 5 years. So in many of the talks to corporate people who are actually from great companies, earning fantastic salaries, I ask them, on a scale of 1 to 5, how happy are you? And usually mostly it is around 3 and 4. There are a few people who are in 5. And there are many who are in 2 and 1. And I find it amazing that these people who are listening to my talk, who are possibly in the top 1% to 3% in terms of privilege in this country, right? I mean, they're the cream of the creme de la creme, the cream of the cream. And their happiness quotient is only about 50%. Why is it not 99%? Why is it not 99%? Why can't they be happy with what they have? And the answer always comes back to gratitude. If you are feeling entitled for what you already have, then there is no happiness in life. At the same time, if you actually feel grateful for every single thing that you have, that's when you get happiness, right? So gratitude is a very powerful quality. It empowers you because it makes you happy, which is anyway the ultimate goal for everybody.
Right. No, I guess that makes a lot of sense. I mean, something that I've been trying to do recently is also be more grateful. But I am wondering, sort of, when you go to these talks, when you talk to these people, do you feel like it's just a matter of them not really being aware or conscious of the fact that they are so lucky? Is that just simply what it is?
Yeah, it's a matter of actually focusing on it. So, for example, I'll just give a couple of examples. Okay. There was a study conducted in one of the US universities where they compared a bunch of people who had won a lottery about 3 months back. And the lottery ranged between $150,000 to $1 million, right? And another bunch of people randomly selected to be similar to these people who've had an accident and who had become paraplegic. So they had actually lost the use of their lower limbs 3 months back. And they compared they had this questionnaire or survey which was given to both these sets of people to measure their happiness. And these are validated surveys which give you scientifically a kind of idea of how happy these people are. And they found that the happiness quotient between the two groups was almost the same. So people who had just become paraplegic, who had lost the use of their lower limbs, are as happy as people who had just won a lottery. And when you go back and find out why this was so, and you actually get deeper into it, they found that it is because the people who had become paraplegics were so grateful for all the support that they were getting in life, for all the people who were caring for them, that they were genuinely happy. Right. And the others, for them, they had already normalized the fact that they had got the money. So it is no longer something which they had to be happy. That is a momentary happiness, whereas this is an ongoing happiness. I'm a co-founder of a startup company, a tech startup company, and we have many people who come from very difficult backgrounds. We recruit engineers from smaller towns, and many of them have come from very poor backgrounds. And I find that the level of commitment of some of these people are much higher because they are very grateful for having been given an opportunity to work in a great company and learning so much and contributing so much that they are so committed to the work, and we never see them cribbing or complaining about what they don't have. Whereas those from much more privileged backgrounds usually complain a lot more. So that's
it was pretty recently actually that I had a friend who I would consider, pretty privileged. Not that we all aren't, but we were sort of having a little early morning jog on the beach, and it was very early in the morning. It was maybe 3 or 4 a.m. And around that time is also when the fishermen pull in their haul of the day, and they're in the process of lugging out these massive nets. And we had taken a moment to sort of have a break, and he's looking at me and he's giving, he's venting a little bit about some of the bad experiences he's had lately and how difficult his life is. And, not that those problems are small, but we look to our right and there are these men who are doing extremely hard physical labor very early in the morning. And it takes all of their effort. It takes at least 20 of them to pull out this massive net with all the fish. And it was just, you take a moment to sort of say, if I look to my right, there's always going to be somebody who doesn't have what I have. So it is important to, take that and get a fresh perspective.
Yeah. And I keep thinking we are talking about the economy going down and all, and we are sitting in nice, wonderful homes, maybe air-conditioned offices, etc. And today, right now, as we speak, there are people who are slogging it out at 45 to 48 degrees centigrade, doing hard labor out.
Everything is relative that way. So, of course, there are people who are suffering out there, and
I agree.
And we're not really capable of understanding the difference. But which is why gratitude is so important, I guess.
See, and there are so many other things that we need to feel grateful for. Forget the fact that we are in the top 1 to 3% of all that kind of stuff. Look at the fact that each of us have about 30 trillion cells in our body, right? 30 trillion is like 3 followed by 000, all the way up to 12 zeros, right? 13 zeros, sorry. 30 trillion cells are coming together to give you what is called life. I mean, that itself is an incredible miracle, right? The fact that they are all working together to give you what you are. And it doesn't stop there. There are, if you have 30 trillion cells in your body, there are 39 trillion microbes or bacteria, etc. in your body. So there are more microbes than there are human cells in your body. And we actually owe our survival to these bacteria. If they were not there in your gut and doing a lots of stuff which are part of our life process, we would not be alive. So I promised some science. Here's some more science. Every generation, human beings on an average have about 175 mutations in their DNA. So these mutations are random mutations which happen because of whatever reasons. And because of those mutations, you could actually end up with a rare disorder which will completely make your life miserable. But most of us do not have that, and we should feel incredibly grateful that that random mutation did not come and hit us. Right? So there is so much we have to be grateful for. Apart from what I said about the fact that every day we are depending on so many people who we don't even know for our daily survival. Right? It's from a farmer in the field to somebody who is a headload worker who is carrying the farm produce to the factory maybe, and which is getting processed. There is workers there who are doing it. There are people who in the retail outlets who are standing there for 8 to 10 hours and dispensing stuff. There are people who are delivering stuff to your house. So many people who are invisible to you, garbage collectors, they're all contributing to your well-being. So there's so much we have to be grateful for in life.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I mean, as you've already said, gratitude is, let's say, one of the key ingredients to happiness. But I'm sort of wondering why is that? Why is it something that, it seems very obvious, but I mean, not all of us go about doing that. In fact, I can think of plenty of people who have 100 reasons to be grateful, but we don't. And so how would you go about explaining to someone, why they should try and be, let's say, actively grateful?
So if it is somebody who is inclined towards science, and science is actually, science speaks the truth. There is enough research that proves that there are a couple of chemicals which are called neurotransmitters, which are generated in the brain when you're grateful. So there is something called serotonin and there's something called dopamine. These are both neurotransmitters which make you happy in life. And this is the reason why whenever you're grateful, whenever you're grateful, these neurotransmitters are released and they add to happiness. So purely scientifically, if you look at it, forgetting all this positive psychology and all that, just chemistry tells us that gratitude leads to happiness.
Right. And so what I was sort of thinking about is, it seems so obvious, and you've made it pretty clear that, those are the types of things that one can benefit with if they're trying to be grateful all the time. Recently, I've been on sort of a little bit of a introspective journey trying to figure out the things I should be grateful for. I have realized that at some point, maybe I've grown up very privileged, and it's difficult to accept that because, you're around people who are also just as privileged as you, and it's difficult to see that for what it is. But recently I've had the privilege of getting to know some people who didn't grow up the way I grew up, who didn't have so many of the things I did. And, I think it's important for everyone to take a little bit of a step back, maybe kill your ego just a little bit, because those moments of realizing, these people have done just as well as you or gone above and beyond you with less, is sort of a moment of awakening. You sort of realize that the world is a big place and there's a lot going on out there that you maybe don't understand, and you were lucky enough to be shielded from. And so now I'm trying to actively be grateful every single day. But of course, there are times where I'm falling back and forth, and there are times where I realize, maybe I should be more grateful than I am. Have you ever had those moments where you're trying to be grateful, but maybe sometimes we don't quite succeed?
So first of all, I must say that you are ahead of the curve quite a bit. Huh? If you look at your age versus where you've reached in life, I think your name is sort of befitting Shantanu,
Right.
and you're called Shant. So pretty soon you'll become the most Shant guy I have met in my life.
Right. I hope so.
Because gratitude does make people very calm and happy, right? I've definitely had moments like that. Huh? So, and this is why I said you're ahead of the curve, because especially when I was younger, it was all about making more for myself and adding value to myself. Value in the general terms, I mean more money, right? So those were the focus areas, and one just forgot that one is very, very, very privileged. So, for example, I'll tell you, when I joined Titan as my first job, Titan Watches, I was a management trainee, and there were a bunch of us who were management trainees who had joined the company. And I was very happy to be in the company because I was it was one of the top marketing companies in the country. And I had joined for a sales and marketing role.
Right.
But after I joined there, we started talking about salaries and comparing our salaries to the salaries of our peers. And Titan was not the best paymaster. So we started cribbing and complaining about the company. And pretty soon we started looking at everything that happened in the organization with a lens of, some kind of disdain at whatever was happening. And that actually led to us underperforming to our own potential. And this is about performing to your potential, right? We had a lot of potential, but we were all cribbing and complaining so much that we were not focused on actually working properly. And I remember there was another person who had joined, who was not a management trainee, so a couple of levels below me. And he was a colleague of mine, and he was handling a couple of products. I was handling a couple of products. And he picked up one of the products which I didn't want to touch because it was a low-priced product. And he converted that into one of the most top sellers in the organization for the company. And it became a sub-brand, which is the most prized sub-brand in the organization. So if I had the opportunity to do it, but I was so focused on my own cribs and complaints that I didn't do that. So I was entitled. He was grateful. That was the difference.
Yeah. I haven't spent a lot of time in a corporate setting, but in the time that I have, I think, if that it's very easy for that to become the culture of the workplace, that everyone sort of decides, we're going to, it's always, let's say the client's fault or management's fault or HR's fault. And when you get into that sort of rhythm, then that becomes also an out, an escape that you can go through. I couldn't do enough, or I couldn't produce work that was up to the mark. So it's the client's fault. I didn't get enough time, all those different reasons that you come up with. And it's self-defeating.
Absolutely true. And that sort of brings me to the benefits of gratitude, right? And especially for professionals. So people who are grateful, first of all, make much better managers because they feel grateful to their teams and they acknowledge the contribution by their team members. And that acknowledgement by a manager can substantially increase the level of productivity of a team. So grateful people are better managers. Gratitude reduces the work pressure, right? Because you are coming to your office feeling happy to be part of that team and part of the organization. So you are always less stressed, you're happier. So work stress reduces, collaboration increases, happiness increases, and hence commitment increases. And also, there are studies about leaders who talk to their subordinates with a lot of gratitude. And there is a study which actually says those leaders are far better at delivering to their potential and ensuring that the company's growth is better. So there are a series of professional advantages for just being grateful.
Yeah. And, as much as we want to talk about the professional aspects as well, I'm wondering a little bit about, in your personal life, like, have you seen what are some of the effects it's had on you?
So that my life has gone through a complete crucible experience and multiple crucible experiences, right? I've had
Yeah,
a debilitating autoimmune disorder. I was almost crippled, and I had to rebuild my life. I don't think I could have done
yeah,
any of this if I was not eternally grateful to many things, right? I mean, so if you were to ask me to tell you who are the people I'm grateful for, it's like it's be like a dictionary, be a thick book. So starting with my parents, who I think
right,
instilled the right qualities in me to have been able to handle so many tough situations and then convert them into something of a success. My wife, actually, who has held my hand through the toughest of times and literally held my hand up because I have a problem of tripping and falling every once in a while. For the last 14 years, she's actually held my hand. When I had to leave my corporate life, it was she who picked up the entire slack, earning the salary for both of us, taking care of the kids, taking care of me. There are so many colleagues, friends who have helped me. In fact, there are colleagues who have had to lace tie the laces of my shoes because I couldn't do it with my fingers.
right,
There are doctors, nurses who have helped me every time I've had to be hospitalized. There are so many people I need to be grateful for. So what happens is the emotional benefits of gratitude kicks in. So as I already said, it increases dopamine and serotonin production. That's one aspect of it. Then it also increases psychological well-being. It reduces stress. And I could handle this intensely stressful situation comfortably because of gratitude. The other thing is, I might as well now complete the whole gamut of benefits of gratitude. Social benefits are amazing, right? People who are grateful typically, they do not have that arrogant, I made myself, so you guys can kiss my
right,
shoes kind
right.
of an attitude, right? These are people who are
Mm,
grateful
mm,
for
mm.
any small thing also that they get. And hence, they have a much better set of friends. People are comfortable being with them because they are always expressing their gratitude to those around them. So they make better friends. So the
Right,
social network of people who are grateful is far stronger and far larger than those who are not. Especially in marriages, for example,
yeah,
if you look at it, the ability to be grateful for your spouse and acknowledging that every once in a while is something which makes a marriage very strong. And that you
right,
will find that people who have long, happy marriages are the ones who are very grateful to each other. And so that's on social benefits.
yeah,
And on the personal benefit, of course, it's like you also become more optimistic when you're grateful because you feel that there are people around who will help you if things get tough. And so people who are grateful have a
yep,
much better, brighter view of the future than the other ones. Also, what happens is when you feel happy about people helping you, you also want to be part of the bandwagon. So you also want to help people. And so
yeah,
the flip side of gratitude, which is compassion, also increases with gratitude. And last but not the least,
yeah, yeah,
physical health improves with gratitude. Okay, so if you want to live a happy, long life, uh, you be grateful, right? So what happens is because the stress levels go down,
got it, got it.
cortisol levels go down in the body, that reduces the BP, that reduces cardiovascular issues, serotonin, dopamine being in the body, it encourages you to exercise, physical exercise, so you become more active. Your immune system becomes better with gratitude. So, so you want to pick one quality that you must embrace. It is gratitude.
Yeah. No, I mean, it sounds like a good one to pick up. You're going to
So
pick up
you're
and
already
you
on the
might as well
path,
be
so you don't have
gratitude.
to worry.
Um, Yeah, no, I mean, you mentioned a lot of stuff there that, I mean, that is very important. I mean, to me as well, specifically. I've really tried, at least, let's say in recent years, to be vocal, at least to, my friends, to the relationships that I value, family, to say, when I appreciate something that they do, or to say, that I give them compliments, or just to say that, I care about you. And what I find that is, while there are some people that are uncomfortable with that sort of thing, those people eventually either warm up to it, or they're not ready for it, and they will slowly make their way out of your life, in which case maybe they weren't supposed to be there in the first place. uh but what it does do is it develops a relationship that's very, authentic and honest, and yeah, you're constantly just grateful for one another.
Yeah. So, there is the concept called circle of gratitude, and it's an increasing circle. So it starts with gratitude for what one has, like one's body, one's health, one's education, one's privileges, your upbringing, those kind of things. Then the relationship that you have, your parents, your spouse, your children, your friends. So that is the next level. The third level is gratitude towards society. As I said, this invisible net which is always supporting you. And the fact that we exist in a civilized society, right? Otherwise, with my kind of illnesses, I would be dead long back, right? Nobody would have been hunting for me and feeding me day in and day out. I would have been dead long back. So, and that applies to many of us, right? Who are not physically in the greatest of shape. If there was no civilization, we would all be most probably dead. Then the other one is, this is the important one, gratitude while giving. So you would expect actually the person who getting to feel gratitude, but flip it around and think of it this way, that feeling the ability to give to somebody and help somebody else is actually one of the highest levels of achievement that you can get. And you're actually helping another person, another human being, to have a better life. And so one should feel tremendously grateful for giving. So I've been working in Azim RamG Foundation for the last 10 years. The foundation has helped many organizations, NGOs, etc., to help the most underprivileged people in the country, people who can barely make two ends meet on a daily basis. And the best thing about the foundation I found is that people who are actually doing this job of giving out grants, etc., or working with the poorest of poor, they do not do it thinking that, hey, I'm the big one, so I'm giving down this benefits to others. They actually feel grateful for the privilege of having been able to do this. And hence,
Right.
I find that the foundation is looked up and respected so much by the people who we work with. So gratitude while giving is an essential feature to have.
Yeah. I think I have maybe one last question, which is, if you're trying to get into the practice of everything we've just talked about, trying to be more grateful on a day-to-day basis, are there any practices, any tips you might give someone? How do they imbue that into themselves?
Absolutely. So the basic principle is that any quality that you want to cultivate in yourself, you would be able to do it by doing some daily practices. Why? Because our brain has got something called neuroplasticity. It's constantly rewiring itself. Whatever you do will become strengthened, and it'll become easier and easier for you to do that next time. So on a daily basis, for example, if the few things that you can do, every morning, spend 5 minutes thinking of all the things that you have, which are amazing. And just list that in your mind and feel good about it. That'll start the day off with gratitude, right? At the end of the day, think of all the good things that happened to you that day. And even if it is somebody smiling at you or somebody giving you a compliment, whatever it is, right? Feel grateful for that. Then thank as many people as possible on a daily basis. just the act of thanking is something which makes you feel great. And next one, and this is a very, very important and essential one, and a very interesting one, that surprise somebody with gratitude on a daily basis. So it can be as simple as, and my wife does this very well. So when she goes to a mall or something, there are these car parking, the car parks in which there are attendants who actually collect the money from cars.
Yeah.
And nobody even looks at them, right? They just give the money or and wait for the gate to be opened, and then they go in. What my wife does is she gives a broad smile to that person and say, "Thank you so much." And you should see the surprise on their faces, right? They feel wonderful that somebody is actually acknowledged what they're doing and that somebody is grateful for what they're doing. So that surprising somebody with a gratitude will fill you with happiness. And last but not the least, this is a difficult one to do, but I have now sort of half mastered it and still trying to do this, is that think of a situation where you've really been affected very negatively. For me, for example, it is that crippling disorder and paralysis which I had. And then think of one good thing at least that has come out of it. And once you focus on that, then try and be grateful for that experience that you've gone through. See, that experience is in the past. You cannot change it. The best you can do is to figure out the best things that happened from that experience, which made you a better person. So every time either you make a mistake or you go through a tough time or somebody actually behaves badly with you, whatever it is, right? At that moment, I'm sure it's very difficult to feel grateful about that instantly. But think back on those and think of the things that came out of it. And at least one or two things you can find to be grateful about. So these are the daily practices which can make you feel grateful. So Shant, if you want to be more Shant, start practicing some of these.
I'll do that. And anyone listening, make sure you practice too. Any last words for our audience before we wrap up our first episode?
Very important lesson that remember that we all have these 30 odd trillion cells in our body, which are doing this incredible dance of coordination between each other to give us this amazing gift called life. So enjoy every minute of it. Feel wonderful and grateful that you are existing. And that's my message. If you like what you heard, subscribe and keep up to date with the Be Boundless podcast.